What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Humbledad Podcast, where we speak truth to culture from a biblical and fatherly perspective. Today's episode is one that might make some people uncomfortable, but it's a conversation we have to have. Culture doesn't respect husbands, should it? We're diving into the reality that in many ways, society has stripped honor from the role of the husband, whether it's in media, music, or even day to day conversations. Husbands are often the punchline, the afterthought, or the enemy. So the question is, why is that? And what would happen if we were to reverse the trend? And I couldn't think of a better person to tackle the topic than Trill, AC, my dude, my homie. I call him the young OG. A voice who doesn't just follow the culture, but calls it out. You've seen his takes, but today we get to the full context. We're going to break down by looking at the problem, exploring the solution, and imagining what could happen if men and women applied the truth. Let's get into it. And welcome to the stage, none other than my homie, Trill in the building. What's
My
up, my
brother,
guy?
chilling, baby. Good
I'm good, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's been a long time,
for
but it's
sure.
always good to hang out with you and just dialogue, you know?
Always.
Yeah. And so you've been touring. Did you just start the tour?
Well, we actually just wrapped up part of it. We on like a break right now. I got to do Essence Fest on the 3rd, and then we get a couple months off, and then the full one fall start back in October. So I'm just trying to enjoy this little bit of break, make sure I get some work done, man, and it's back to the grind after that, brother.
That's what's up, man. Well, I appreciate you stopping by and having some time with your boy. And
hmm
so we're just going to get into it. So the first question that I have is we're going to be talking about the problem. So from your perspective, why do you think the culture no longer respects husbands like it once did? Or do you even think that that is a thing that husbands are not even being respected?
Man, when you say respected, do you mean within the household or just in society in general?
In society in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think just the whole husband and marriage role and kind of became uncool
Mm.
in this new era. I think back in the day, it was way more credence put on that. That was way more of a goal for everybody was to start a family. You understand what I'm saying? Like have a wife, get married, vice versa, and then the dad was known as like the backbone. He gonna take care of everything, make sure everything's situated, make sure the kids is good, make sure the money is coming in, making sure the infrastructure is taken care of. But I think these days it's become way less of a goal. I think a
Mm.
lot of people on one end it's not as cool, and then on the other end there's a fear tied to it. So whereas
Mm.
it's a lot of guys that have a genuine fear of losing half of their assets or losing access to their kids or and losing their house and all these things and having to start over if the marriage goes left. So that's kind of keeping people from wanting to embark on it at all. It's like, why would I even risk that when I could just stay single and get all of the benefits that come with being with a husband?
That's interesting, right? That you can still get the benefits of a husband, but not. Do you think they still get the recognition as a husband?
Um, I would say yes, in terms of
Okay.
like how they treat it. You got a lot of people in common law marriages and things of that nature. Hey, I done
Yeah.
been with my girl for a long time, so it's like he's still gonna get the respect of a husband, gonna get the benefits that come with being a husband. Compared to back in the day, you had to court, you had to go talk to her daddy, you had to go talk to her
Yeah.
grandparents, and like earn the right to have all of these benefits. Sex
Mm.
sex included. That wasn't a thing that was just thrown around. Like it was some prestige tied to that. But now, man, social media done kind of made that to where it's oversaturated. It's
Wow.
overly available. If you got some kind of clout, some kind of status, or even just living somewhat comfortably, you got access to a whole bunch of sex without even having to commit.
Man, that's crazy, right? I do understand that particular position because it's almost like going back to high school, right? Where or even college, like if you have a sense of status that it seems like it draws women to you
Mhm.
and you're able to get a lot of access without having to have responsibility,
That's it.
right? So what would you say that the messaging is in like maybe music or you mentioned social media. So how do
Mhm.
you think that affects how men are seen in the home, the media or social media, if you will?
I mean, I think the media and just movies and in general, I think they do a way more of a job propping up the mom than they do the dad. You know,
Mhm.
like even look at like we just had the NFL draft recently. You'll have players get drafted first round, and oh man, hey man, I want to thank my mama, man. Shout out to my mama, I love you, mama. You know, the daddy might get a little handshake, and then he just keep it pushing. You understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's like it's always propping up the mom, whether it's in movies, whether it's in shows, whether it's in whatever. Like the dad is kind of this stoic figure in the background that just, hey, I come to him when I need money, but he don't necessarily play a pivotal role in my upbringing. It's all about what the mom is sacrificing. You know, she taking care of two, 3 kids, working 2 or 3 jobs, just trying to make it happen. So, you know, once I become successful, I owe all of my, thanks and all of these things to it, even if the dad is in the home working just as hard. You
Mhm.
understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I think media kind of, pushes that along. Social media kind of pushes that along, and husbands suffer as a byproduct of it.
Man, that's a good point. So husbands suffer. So from your perspective, what does suffering look like if a husband is not being, I guess, valued in the way that a mom is being valued?
Well, I think the suffering comes from like the number one thing men value, period, is gratitude. We don't really ask for much. We don't ask for,
That's
let's say
good.
our kid get rich. We ain't asking for a brand new house. You know what I
That's a good
mean? We
point.
not asking for the dad might get a truck and that's it. The mama get a whole house. She get a
Yeah.
bin. She get a, you know what I mean? So it's like, only thing that we ask for, even on Christmas traditionally, the dad don't really get nothing for Christmas. What do you get? A tie? A
That's
damn
what
pair
it's
of
been said to.
socks,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, a couple bottles of cologne or something. Meanwhile, the kid going all out buying the mama stuff, you know what I mean? And again, not saying that I have issue with that because, man, we kind of taught to get our gratitude, I guess, from everybody around us being all right and everybody around us thriving. That's where we have been kind of programmed to get our gratitude from. But a lot of times in this era, we getting completely ignored in regard to back in the day. He at least got some credit, shout out to my daddy for making this. But today, mm-mm.
Man, I I've come across the things that you're saying as far as like when I went and looked back at different TV shows, and for example, one of them was Family Matters, right?
Right,
And
right.
in Family Matters, growing up as a kid, I didn't pay attention to that. But going back and rewatching it with my family, what I saw was that the mom never was made fun of. I
Oh, no.
think she made a mistake one time. It was like a situation where she had planned a trip,
Mhm,
and in the trip, she had a room that had no wall,
mhm,
right? And he made her feel better by saying, "Babe, it's gonna be okay."
mhm.
I mean, you make a plan, you don't have a clue what this place looks like, and there's no wall, and he becomes the person that has to console her as
Mhm.
opposed to being upset, right? So in
Right.
that particular, and that was a really big show, right? They made fun of the guys. Even Laura never had an issue. There was no one that made fun of her, and she was always going for the popular guy, right? So it's been this narrative that has seemed to put the husband on the backside, seeing as though he is the backbone. What do you
I
think
mean,
the go ahead.
mhm. No,
Go
I was
ahead, what
gonna
you
say
gonna
just to piggyback on your point, Fresh Prince, same way. You think about it.
say? Okay.
Uncle Phil got joked on a lot, in terms of,
Yeah.
just the whole makeup of the show, but the mom just got saluted and got praised and all of these things. Yeah, but go ahead with your question. I'll just think about
Yeah.
that as you were talking.
No, I thought that's a good point, right? Because the whole reason why Fresh Prince went to live with his uncle and his aunt was because the mom could not handle him where he was, right? The single
Right.
mom aspect of things, and she didn't feel like she could raise him. And
Mhm.
so now that's almost like a cultural thing. However, there is no real person to for Will to go to. Like if we were just talking about me as a person, like my mom would not send me to go live with my rich uncle. Like
Right.
this is not happening, right? So therefore, there is this individual. These are men that are being raised, and they're becoming husbands that were from single mothers.
Mhm.
So, how do you think? what would be a better question? How do you think that what has impacted us as a culture where a man was raised by a mother and then he becomes a husband? What do you think some gaps are there?
I mean, he literally learning, he getting on the job training by the
Oh
time he
man.
get to the relationship. And to be honest, I feel like that's why most relationships fail.
Okay.
Because most men don't really know how to navigate fatherhood or navigate being a husband or anything like that. Like we always taught to go out there and make money. We taught to protect. Hey, don't let nothing happen to your sister. Don't let nobody play with your mama.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily, especially if the dad is not in the home, and we don't have a example of, hey, this is how you show up for your wife. Hey, this is how you
Mm,
show up for your kid. Despite, and you may be out there working and she may not, you know what I mean? But you still gotta come home and pitch in. You still gotta come
yeah.
home and be that emotional support for her and pour into the kids and things of that nature. And it's like, if we don't have an example of that, like what chance do we have of being successful? It's gonna take a patient woman to really like
Mm,
walk you through that, ironically,
yeah.
in terms of like what it is that she need from you herself and what it is that she needs from you to pour into the household. But a lot of times that tutelage is oftentimes given when it's too late. We got to lose a great woman in order to kind of learn what it is to be a great husband.
Man, I remember you saying that once before, that in order for a guy to realize what he needs to do, he has to lose,
For sure.
right? That's almost similar to all aspects of our lives. It's unfortunate, right, that we have to lose in order to gain. But then when it comes to a relationship, you have to see what it looks like
Hmm.
in order to know what is going to be expected of you in a relationship, and also seeing the dynamics of a man and a woman in that relationship.
Hmm.
Because if you're not able to see what a man's supposed to do in a relationship, you got it right. You say you're going to have on the job training, and this is not the time to be trying to
Right.
learn how to be a husband. So let's kind of dive into some of the solutions that we may be able to kind of go with this. So I would ask the question, what do you see the need or the needs that need to change in the way men, specifically husbands, right? How we may carry ourselves to reclaim the respect and not demand it, but claim it, reclaim it.
Um, I think we gotta not be so afraid of going or taking an easier route. And what I mean
Hmm.
by that is like asking for help. Man, we don't really talk to each other about our
Oh
relationship.
wow.
We don't talk to each other about our fatherhood and how we raise our kids and things of that nature. Men are kind of taught to like wear your scars with pride, like because that's how we learn. If you look at a dude who used to play football back in the day, he might have had a broken leg or dislocated shoulder or whatever, and you ask him, "Hey, bro, if you could go back, would you do it again?" He'll say, "Yeah, I would,"
Hmm.
because it's like these scars and all these injuries and all the hardships and things that I went through kind of made me the man that I am.
Right.
And a lot of times that's not really necessary. You know what I mean? If somebody could have just gave you the game, or if you wouldn't have like felt like it was gonna take a shot at your manhood to reach out and ask somebody for help. Hey, bro, I'm struggling being a husband in my relationship. You know what I mean? And just like me coming to you, because you done been in the game for a minute. A lot of us got OGs and different stuff and different things like that. We'll get together and we'll talk about sports.
Yeah.
We'll get together and we'll talk about, whatever, but we don't really get together and say, "Hey, bro, I'm struggling with this husband thing. Like I'm not showing up for my wife the way that I need to. I'm not showing up for my kids the way that I need to, bro. You got any advice for me?" Like
Wow.
those type of conversations don't happen, and because of that, it forces us to have to bump our head and go with what we've kind of been programmed to do, like learn from our scars. And I think
Mhm.
if we could kind of get out of that, then it would cause us a lot less trauma on the back end, and we'll be more open to being the man we need to be within a relationship.
That's really good, Trill. To say that if you need help, then you should ask for help.
Mhm.
Because if you think you can figure out something on your own that you've never done before, that's really crazy to do, right? Yeah, you telling me that I don't know, because every other aspect, I don't know how to play basketball, I don't know how to play football, I don't know how to work on the car, I don't know how to cook. We go somewhere to ask for help so that we can become better at that. right? But then when it comes to the aspect of being a husband, we almost, or I say men in general, almost feel like we supposed to already know.
Mhm. And
And
it's because
yeah,
it's kind of ingrained in us, like, hey, like as soon as we born, you are a leader.
yeah,
And that's not realistic. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's why even with, a lot of these different influencers and people who be speaking on these things, it's like, leadership is not a birthright. Like you got to learn that. You got to go through some things. You got to have, some mentors, some OGs to kind of teach you that. But, a lot of us, we kind of expected to know how to
Mm,
be a man, like right out the womb. It's damn
yeah,
near. You understand what I'm saying? So
yeah,
yeah, nah, man. We need more, just dialogue between us men. No disrespect to the women, but it's like, your mama can love you to death, but she
yeah,
can't teach you how to be no man for real.
right.
Because a lot of times she didn't even have an example to go off of. So it's like for in our friend groups that need to be discussed more. We need to talk to our OGs more. We need to really like get the game. Hey, bro, what did you learn?
Yeah,
How did you bump your head so I can avoid that? My go round, but we don't do that. We want to bump our head on our own. I got it. I'm good. Whole time you breaking apart inside. You know what I mean? And you can't necessarily talk to your girl because she can't relate. You can't necessarily talk to your mama because she can't relate. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So what do? We hold it in and don't say nothing and just suffer silently.
I heard this. This has been going around a lot that men are suffering in silence, and I definitely echo what you're saying. For me, I have like two accountability partners,
Hmm.
and I have a mentor. My mentor, shout out to Dr. Run, he has been married 58 years,
Man,
right? Right. And we meet every Monday morning to talk about the things that I don't understand about my marriage or about
right,
my kids or about my job, right? And he'll pour into me and he'll say, you know what, listen, the things that you're going through, I've been through, and
right,
even while I'm still married at 58 for 58 years, I still have some of these issues. But here is a way that you can kind of deal with those,
right.
right? And so what you're saying is absolutely correct. Ask for help because when you ask for help, you'll get an answer, and then the next part of you getting that answer is you actually applying what was said.
Yeah, and it's like, I think just people in general, but especially men, like we feel like if we give up control, even
Ah,
if it's misguided control,
that's good.
but if we give up control, we are now vulnerable. We now aren't safe. Like our safety lies in our control, even if we go in the wrong way. You understand? Like you may have your wife telling you something that you need to hear. And it's like I don't want to necessarily cave to what she's saying because then in my head that's going to jeopardize or be an indictment on my masculinity. You understand what I'm saying?
I
So
do.
our safety is in control when our safety should be in useful knowledge that we can apply to our everyday life, but it's not, and that's the problem.
That's really good. Listen, the reason why you get married, it's a couple different reasons, but one of the reasons why it's important for you to marry a woman that is of great substance is that she can be a part of your advisory committee,
Mhm.
you know, because she's supposed, we talked about this before, she's supposed to cover your six, right?
Mhm.
She's supposed to be the individual that is able to see your blind spots and communicate to you what she sees. Now, it's going to
Right.
be up to you to decide as a husband if you want to take her advice or not. And there are some times that her position is way better than your position.
Mhm.
And it's okay to say, you know what, listen, I'm going to relinquish this control because a part of being a manager is being able to divvy out to whoever does whatever that is best, right? So my question is, how can husbands balance authority and humility in a way that earns trust in the home and the community?
I think we got to realize that it's power in delegation.
Oh,
Just because she's giving us some advice that we may follow that doesn't make us less powerful, or that doesn't make her the authoritative figure within the situation. We got veto power over it.
Mm,
You understand what I'm saying? So it's like
yeah.
we be feeling like we giving up what our superpower is, but I mean it's just like sports. That's why they got coaches that's on the sideline and they got coaches that's in the press box. They got two totally different vantage points. So it's like both of those come together and now we can, create a successful game plan. But if all our coaches are on the sideline and we ain't listening to the press box or we ain't got nobody up there in the press box, then we kind of going into war chopping off one of our arms. And a lot of men do that within their relationship. Just like you said, if you don't trust her judgment, she shouldn't be your wife. Period. She's not just something to take care of. She has a use, and it's not just having kids and cleaning the house. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? Women pay way more attention to detail than we do. I think men are more long-term, tunnel vision oriented, but women are hypersensitive to the right now, hypersensitive to the, immediate future. And that's necessary because that can help our planning long term down the line. But if we ain't listening, then we just tunnel vision down the line and getting smacked left and right by things that she would have caught if we would
Yeah.
have just, trusted her judgment. Like I said, if you can't trust her judgment, y'all shouldn't be together.
Man, that's good. If you can't trust her judgment, you shouldn't be together. And you have literally, when you get married, the stats show you that you open up so many different opportunities. People see you different mentally when you say that you're married, whether
Mhm.
you're a good husband or not. They see you differently. Think about what comes to my mind is are you familiar with a guy named Cory Booker?
Cory Booker.
He was running for president at one particular point in time when Kamala was running the first time, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
You don't have to know him, but it's okay. But Cory Booker, he's a senator, and he's single, right? But when he began to run for office, they got him a girlfriend,
Mhm.
just to say that he was with somebody. And every president or anybody that ran for office, you rarely see them be single, just
Yeah.
because of how people view them. Go ahead. What you about to say?
I was gonna say, and it like how can I trust you to lead the country if you ain't leading the household correctly?
Come on, boss.
Like, you know what I mean? It's a lot of people that want to make change. It's just like making a change for the positive, right? Like I could want the best for the environment, but if my household is in shambles or if my immediate circle is in shambles, nobody gonna take what I say serious. And whether it's fair or not, you being single proves that you can't necessarily lead a household well. So how the hell we gonna trust you to lead the country or lead a pivotal part in terms of decision making that's going to affect a lot of people? So I mean, it does make sense. I mean, I kind of hate how they just throw people together just for the aesthetic, but in terms of how people perceive it, I could definitely understand that. It's the same in business.
Yeah, it's the same in business. And then based upon how your wife is, she can bring you business,
For sure.
right? I'm just saying for guys out there that are like, I don't see it. Well, I know you can speak to it. I can speak to it personally. That my wife, she's in cosmetology, right? She's a hairstylist, and as a result of her being a hairstylist and me being a realtor, I was able to connect with some of the people that she was servicing, and
Mhm.
being able to find them or look for them a house, right?
Mhm.
So, and that's just a small section of things, right? Or when I have a moving company, like I was able to find people as a result of her clientele or people that she knew, right? So, you men out here that are wanting to be husbands, there are positives in being a husband, even when that you feel like you're not being respected as one. It only matters about the one woman that respects you. It
Right.
doesn't matter about everybody else. What you got on that?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I agree 100%. I think just women being present, period, kind of just softens the mood. It kind of makes people more open to dialogue, more open to conversation. If you put, 20 guys in a room and it's not a game on the TV or something like that for us to bond over, men, we lead with our ego. But like women have a warmth about them that kind of makes everybody, it kind of loosens everybody up. It makes everybody feel comfortable. So if you got a wife that's, that has that warmth and has that presence when she walks through the room, she may spark a conversation with somebody that you would have never spoke to. and
Yeah.
then come back to you like, hey, baby, yeah, did you know he the VP for such and such? But like we as men, we lead with our ego, so we may not even talk to him until we finally get a chance at the end of the party, or
Yeah.
headed to the car in the elevator where we just kind of forced to talk. But like
Yeah.
women being present, it just kind of I don't know. It's just it's certain
It
aura
changes
that
the
they
it
have.
changes the dynamics of what's going on in the room for sure.
So,
I think that's probably why your the men versus women scenario that you used to do, you probably still do it, but that's probably why it works so well,
mhm,
because of the different dynamics of the yin and the yang, or whatever, the masculine and the feminine
mhm,
talking to each other,
right.
as opposed to just all men talking about how women don't do well,
Yeah, it's
right?
gonna turn into an echo chamber.
Exactly. Whereas if you're able to dialogue with somebody that is different than your thought process, you're having to, one, justify your thought process, and
Right.
two, learn from somebody else, whether you want to or not. You're gonna be absorbing what they're having to say. So I
Mhm.
think that's really good. So let me ask you this: what can wives, mothers, and women of influence do to help shift the narratives about husbands?
Um, that is an interesting question.
It is.
Um, I would say just like because it's a lot of women in this era that aren't necessarily in a rush to prop up their husband as the leader.
Wow.
It's a
Okay.
lot of women that like want to wear those pants or feel like they should wear those pants. So in the process, like they want to be, well, hey, this is my equal, or this is my, hey, we on the same, we walking side by side and things of that nature. But I think, if more women would agree, because in reality, it is what it is. The man is the leader, whether we want to admit it or not. We want to admit it or not.
Right.
You understand? But if they were propped up better that way, especially when you got a good husband, I ain't talking about you dealing with somebody that don't know nothing about leading, ain't got no stability, ain't created no infrastructure. I'm talking about the good dudes out there. Like you got you a good one, like propelling him up and making that position a cool thing to have. Let's just be
Yeah.
honest. Women control the cool. That's just what it is.
You're gonna have
So,
to break that down, bro.
yeah, women
Women
control the
control the
cool.
cool.
'Cause at the end of the
Okay.
day, like, we as men, like, we done talked about it before. If women didn't exist, men would halfway take baths, wouldn't wear no cologne, wouldn't get no shape ups, wouldn't do none of that. Yeah, wouldn't care about dressing or nothing. We'll be in tank tops and basketball shorts every day. But women, if we go into a spot and we know it's gonna be some women there, he gonna prepare totally different than if he just going to go kick it with the boys at the gym or something like that. So
Talk
it's
to him,
like
Trill.
women control the cool. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like we gotta, for one, as men, set examples for them to be able to brag on. And then once the man sets that example, prop that man up and give him his props and his gratitude for doing so.
That is so good. That statement right there, "women control the cool," is a good statement to kind of pin, because I I understand it from the position of, when you say, well, we do things because of how women perceive them, right? The reason why we're getting to the bag is so that we have a different, well, I'll say more options of what women are out there. Because what did they say? They want a man that has money, right? If it was more about character and integrity, dudes would be more having more character and more integrity, right? They set what it is to be cool. I think that's really good. That's good, because if you look at the athletes, or if you look at entertainers, they are doing something outstanding, right? And women are fantasizing about them, or wanting to be in their presence, just to be in their presence. So it goes to the point of saying that, listen, women, what you can do is prop up your good husband and make your husband look cool in front of everybody else. That
Uh-oh. Can you hear me? I don't know what's going on. You done froze up on me. Or maybe I done froze. Chat, can y'all hear me? Put ones in the chat if you can hear me. Oh, okay, good. Okay, cool. All right, bet. Yeah, Humble Dad be right back. Probably something happened with the computer. Probably done restarted on him. But yeah, but no, to that point though, women definitely control the cool, bro. Like men don't want to admit like how much women influence us, bro. And women influence us a lot in terms of how we dress, how we move, like what we strive to attain, things of that nature. That's why you'll have dudes who may not have nothing going for himself on a business level, on a career level, or whatever the case may be. But as long as he can get women, he's still seen as somebody cool in the society. He's still seen as somebody reputable, you understand? And he ain't necessarily making a lot of money. He ain't necessarily, influencing a lot of people or being there for the community or whatever, but he can pull women. So there's value in that. All right, there you go. He back.
Bruh, the devil is real, bruh. Like this all of a sudden just out of nowhere. That's crazy. I appreciate you, bro, for
Nah, for
hanging in
sure.
there. Listen, that's crazy. My internet just shut down all of a sudden.
That's how it goes sometimes, brother.
It
I
does.
got
Yeah. Hey, listen, we when it's good, it's good.
you. Hmm.
That's probably what's going on. So what was you saying before when I left out? Maybe we can get into that.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, how, men are not as willing to admit that women kind of control a lot of how we move and what we strive to attain and, all of these things. Just like we said, just think about society in general. All of us done been in a neighborhood to where they had a guy who could pull a lot of women, but he wasn't necessarily successful business wise. He didn't necessarily
Mm,
have a lot of money, and he still was seen as a man of value within society simply because he can attract a lot of women, or he the one that's going to bring the fine women around. So it's like, nah, I want to keep him close, as if we would do somebody who's successful or who has money or whatever. So there's value in that. The type of car we drive, things of that nature. He's striving for that Benz or that Rolls Royce because just like you said, the amount of women that's going to attract is going to be totally different than if I'm driving a Toyota Corolla. You understand? So it's like women dictate a lot of what it is that we strive for, and I feel like without that, society would look totally different.
absolutely, absolutely. Because if you pay attention to the women that have certain, just look at two different women that has this particular standard of a man versus this particular standard of a man. So a man that is just about he has money and
Mhm.
stature versus not saying he doesn't have the next two things, but this other guy that doesn't necessarily have money and stature, but he has character and integrity.
Right.
Like if you were to look at those two women that look at those characters of a guy, you'll see two different women,
For sure.
right? And so as a result, one of them is going to value the guy when he's down or up. One of them is good. The other is going to only value him when he has what he had when she got him, right? And what
Yep.
did you say before? Men want we're simple creatures. We want to be able to be appreciated, even though we may not get a lot. Like for me, my wife got me a necklace for I want to say it was for Father's Day. I was ecstatic, my God.
Right.
I
Right.
ain't I ain't need nothing else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was excited, and for her to say thank you for being a good dad, that was it. You feel me? And so I think that if more wives did that, they will see women. We'll go right there, right? With women, you'll see a different dynamic of a guy where you're pouring into him, and don't have to be financial, but if
Mm-mm.
you're pouring into him from with your words, he is going to be a totally different guy than the guy that doesn't receive anything. So that's a good point. I think that it comes from the respect factor comes from women, as you said before, building up their men through words and them hearing, and then other women hearing that, listen, this is how you develop or help your man become better, even though he's supposed to be a leader,
Mhm.
right? But leaders need bigging up on a regular basis, right?
Yeah. They need a
So
muse. They
they
need
need
that.
a
They need that
muse.
extra
Yeah.
information. The guy's gonna be, because again, we're wired to go out there and solidify resources in terms of being able to survive and making our life, comfortable, whatever the case may be. But when you got a woman that's by your side that's telling you, yeah, baby, this is cool, but I know you can do more. Like I believe you can do more. And it's not because of, just like you said, what you got. It's because of those intangible traits, the integrity that you have, the leadership capabilities that you have. Baby, you've been at this job for 10 years. You're a great leader in the community. Why you ain't striving for a leadership role in that lane as well? Like
Wow.
that's what you do well. Cause like man, like we kind of fall in love with our routine.
Facts.
So, as long as our routine is going good and we able to take care of everything we need to take care of, a lot of men will be perfectly fine right there.
Yeah.
So, like having that woman there to say, "Nah, baby, this is cool, but I see more in you."
That's
That's
good.
gonna make them go that extra mile to go get it.
That's good. So, in your opinion, what's the hardest part of a marriage role as a husband? It could be for you
Um,
or it could be for anybody.
I think finding value in it the same way that we find value in being able to attract women.
Oh, wow.
It goes back to what we talked about earlier about marriage not necessarily being a cool thing. Like when a man tell his boys, "Hey, man, I'm thinking about getting married," everybody like, "Damn, bro, are you sure?" Oh
Yeah.
man, that's crazy. You gonna get out the game? That's wild. In comparison to when a woman tell her friends she getting married, they jumping for joy, running outside, yelling. It's way more prestige with it.
Putting
But
it
I
on the
think
gram.
putting it on the gram, you
Yeah.
understand? But like as men, it's seen as a, oh, okay, man. Okay, okay. I think I'm ready. You understand? Like it's a whole bunch
Yeah.
of trepidation behind it. So to answer the question, I think finding value in the marriage, finding value in my ability to take care of my family and how high I can elevate them, finding value in, how successful I can, make my kids or even my wife, even pushing her to another level. Like once we find value in that, and I feel like it clicks for all of us eventually, but just at different times. But we kind of program to do the opposite, leading all the way up to a relationship. Our value leading up to a relationship stems from how many women we're capable of pulling.
Yeah.
It starts early. Like who's gonna get the most numbers? That's the game we playing. It ain't, hey, who can get in a relationship the quickest? That's not, as kids.
At
It's like,
all. At
no,
all.
it's who can get the most numbers, who can have sex with the most women, who can, it's a bunch of things that aren't necessarily conducive to a relationship being successful. But I think once we get in that relationship and bump our head and start to see and experience a lot of those benefits that you was talking about earlier, whether it be in business or in politics or whatever the case may be, damn, hold on. There's some prestige attached to this. Like, no, people really like the people that need to respect me because of this more so than
Mhm.
I thought. I thought I was getting this marriage and giving up everything. But in reality, I'm gaining way more than I ever thought I was gonna get. And I think at that point it clicks.
That's
And it's
good.
like, nah, I take pride in I take pride in being able to take my wife on a trip whenever she wants. I take pride in putting my kids in the best schools. I take pride in, a lot of those things in place of the superficial stuff that we put pride in before.
That's really good. I'm just processing what you're saying and being and seeing exactly what you're saying because I did not see you going to the aspect of the hardest part about the marriage role is you seeing as a husband the value in the marriage and you being a husband and how you literally get to, if you're a good leader, you get to dictate how a woman changes, how your children grow up, how the community will be different as a result of how you lead. Like you get to be a problem solver
Mhm,
real time. And it is going to be challenging. Don't get me
mhm,
wrong, right? But it's challenges in whatever you're going to do. And as you move forward, if you can see that this person that you have said is the love of your life, if you can see the value that she brings to you, even if it's peace of mind,
mhm.
it's something that is unattainable in other aspects of places if she brings you peace, right? That is so dope. I definitely am going to lean on that. Like, how did you become the? I think I said this to you. I don't know if I gave you this name or somebody else did, but I call you the young OG, right?
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
somebody else call you that. I don't know. But how did you get to the point of being wise at this particular point in your life?
Man, I think when I was younger, man, I was surrounded by, a lot of OGs. I always been the type of person, like, I would much rather hang with my OGs than hang with my peers.
Okay.
Because it's like, my fondest memories as a kid is sitting around that domino table and listening to my uncles talk, or listening to my daddy talk, or my mom and my aunties talk, listening to those conversations and just really getting that preview to what was going to come in life. So by the time I hit the world, I was equipped with way more knowledge than a lot of people my age had, because,
Mhm.
whereas most kids would be like, "Oh, this is boring, bunch of grown folks. Let me go play." I'd rather sit there and really soak that game up and really be, and now that knack for doing that, I'm not sure where that came from, but
Mhm.
it's just I always found it intriguing, found it interesting, because it was so different than the life that I was living. And I knew I was gonna have to hit that age eventually and go through a lot of those things that they was talking about eventually. So it's like, why not soak up that game? So by the time I got, outside, I was moving with a totally different compass than a lot of people my age. And I think as a result of that, a lot of people gravitated to me. Even, dudes in my neighborhood that was older than me looked up to me,
Yeah.
because my knowledge and my experience was always different than everybody else's. So
Well, that's good because since I met you, it has I can see the maturation too. You know what I'm saying? So, giving you your flowers as a Chicago Rilla tell us to make sure that we do. Like, I have seen you grow even in your how you present your not just your content but the context of how you
right,
present your content. So when you're speaking from a position of, listen, woman, this is what you could do. Listen, man, this is what you could do. This is what we could do, right? If we would just change our process of thinking, because this is what I see that is done for me. Does that sound about right?
yeah, I agree 100%. I'll be telling people all the time. I say I don't necessarily give advice. I feel like I'm more of a translator. If a scenario is presented, I could tell you, hey, no, this is what this means. Or hey, when this happens, they really mean this. So when they saying this is why they saying it. Now you take the information and do with it as you will, but I'm
Yeah,
not necessarily gonna say, hey, go do this or you should do this. Because everybody's journey, everybody's experience is different. But if
right.
you present something to me, I done lived a lot of life and I could, pretty much translate what that means and be able to, help in that way. So, but yeah, you're right. In terms of my position, and I think when I first got into content creation, I just wanted to be a voice for the guys that wasn't able to necessarily speak for themselves. Women always been very good at expression and what they going through and their thought process and things of that nature. But men, not so much, because we kind of not really taught that, or like a space is not necessarily created for us to do that. So,
Right.
a lot of it was me just, hey, I want to hold my guys down. But then once, you get in a relationship and then you get to experiencing that other side, and it's just like, damn, okay, I never looked at it from that perspective. And I think that takes, for one, a patient woman, salute to my old lady,
Yeah.
who was able to communicate these things, even if not verbally, just in how she moved and certain things. And it's just like, okay, I handled that wrong. I should have went this way in comparison to that way. I say a thing now, like, as you get older and as you get a little experience in relationships, you learn the value of being heard in comparison to being right.
Come
And I
on,
think,
Doc.
you know what I mean? I think in a lot of my content earlier, I was more concerned with being right. I didn't care how it landed. I didn't care how it came across. I'm gonna be bluntly honest. This is what it is, and I'm stand firm in it because I'm right.
Yeah.
I think being in that relationship taught me, nah, it's about being heard. Yeah, you could be right all day long, but what difference do it make if it falls on deaf ears? What difference do it make if it don't get the desired result out of your wife, or the desired result out of your boys that you're trying to influence, or whatever the case may be, because you're not delivering it properly? Everybody don't receive information the same way. And I think that's a mistake a lot of men make, is like, we be so hard pressed on, hey, I don't care how my delivery is. Like, I'm right, so you should listen to me. But, again, it could be tied back right back to sports. You can't coach all players the same way.
Right.
certain players who you can yell at and say, "Boy, what the hell is you doing? Get it together." Slap them on the helmet, all kind of stuff. And there's certain players you got to put that arm around, walk them off to the side. Hey, bro, come on now, bro. Come on, man. You know what you're supposed to be doing. Get it together, bro. Come on. And that's gonna get peak performance out of him in comparison to if you would have yelled at the dude you supposed to put the arm around, he gonna shut down. So that translates to a relationship. I can't talk to my wife the same way I talk to guys on the street or somebody in a boardroom or somebody. No, the message is not going to be received the same way. I got to analyze her and love her enough to analyze her and figure out how does she best receive the information so I can get the desired result, which is being heard at the end of the day in comparison to being right.
That's good. The Bible tells us that we're supposed to live with our wives in an understanding way. So part of being living with them in an understanding way is you have to provide them a way to hear you in a way that you're going to get the result that it is that you want.
That's it.
I've been on, like, when we had that conversation about why are you concerned about my tone? Well, concerned about the tone says, do you love me?
Mm-hmm.
Do you value me? That's what I had to understand, is that, like, a soft, and then it says in the Bible, like, a soft word turns away wrath. You know what I'm saying? So it's a matter of how we communicate with the person that we say that we appreciate. Right. Yeah.
That's the first thing that they teach you in therapy is talk in terms of we instead of you. When we talking about things that we need to improve within this relationship, because we do need to improve upon it. I need you to improve so the value of this relationship can be better. And that's what, I was talking to an older guy one time in the airport, and I think where we was at, I think Cleveland. Older guy, white guy, and he said 90% of relationship issues could be solved by just substituting one word. And he was like, you substitute we or us for you when you trying to quote unquote criticize or quote unquote, get your woman to do a certain thing, she's gonna be way more receptive to it. But if you start off with, hey, you need to improve, you need to do better in this area, she gonna get defensive. And vice versa. Same with us. If you come to us telling us, no, you need to, our defenses go up. Like, hold on, I do this, and you tripping over that.
Yes.
In comparison to, hey, baby, I think it'll be best if you understand, we move better in this way. We did more date nights. We was more romantic. We prioritize with intention in terms of us spending time. It's not, okay, now you feel like, damn, okay, we in this together. We focused on the problem more so than each other. And I think once that gets across, you see a totally different relationship, to be honest.
That's dope, bro. Like that, I had interviewed this couple. I don't know if they're a couple, but they rock together on a show called, I was looking for it, Relationship Battle Twins. They are on IG. Is that they wrote a book together. I think it's called We Before Me or something like that.
Right.
And man, you hit it right on the head. Is that what he told you is something that I definitely got to put into my toolbox as a we, because I seen that happen when I did it this past week, when I used the word us or we. This is what we are doing. That there was a totally different dynamic in a poll when I said, well, this is what you did, this is what that I did. It literally will change the context. Not just the context, but it'll change the behavior and the attitude in which she is at the table talking to you. It's more palatable, right? She's able to receive your information. So my next question, we almost out of here because we're going to get to these outcomes here shortly. But what role do you think the church and or content creators have in restoring, like, the viewpoint of husbands and fathers?
Man, I think, to be honest, we probably the most important piece as far as, restoring it. People spend way more time on their phone, than they do even interacting with people in general today.
Yeah.
So the influencers, a lot of times you're gonna hear more from them than you may even hear from your spouse in terms of relationship issues or whatever the case may be. So it's like, if you got influencers who moving with that in mind, which is something else that I learned the deeper I got into this, there's a responsibility that comes with it. When I first started making content, I'm thinking, man, I'm just, having conversations, getting my viewpoint out, and that's just it is what it is. I didn't really put too much stock in it. But then, touring and going around and meeting a lot of people and things of that nature and realizing, nah, bro, you really helped me when you said this, XYZ, and quoting clips and quoting lines from podcasts and everything. It's like, whoa, okay, no, people really making real life decisions based on what I say. So I gotta tighten it up some. You understand? Don't just be so reckless with the delivery. Like really be cognizant of that when you answering these questions or when you on these platforms. Clips is doing, you know, 20, 30,000 likes and millions of views and things of that nature. So, you want to be on the right side of history per se, especially having kids. That's something else that really shifted the way I move, because it's like,
Really?
God could take me tomorrow,
Yeah.
and my daughter's 6. But if you take me tomorrow, I got 1,000 clips online to where she could see what my mindset was and see what the game, or what I wanted to impress upon her as I was raising her, even if I'm not here. So it's like, that right there kind of shifted my mindset as well. So this is really like, long after we gone, all of this stuff we doing, even this interview right here, it's gonna be here long after we gone, and somebody gonna see it, and somebody gonna be able to take something from it. And if they could take at least one thing from it, we did our damn job.
That's solid, bro. Like looking at it from the end in mind
Mhm.
allows you to, hopefully it allows you to kind of do an internal dive on what your purpose and why you're doing something.
Right.
Because when I listen to some of the content creators or even pastors that are talking about husbands, they don't really do a good job in the sense of coming from the perspective of, which is, for me, I would say from a biblical perspective, so
Mhm.
that you can see it from a where, like, the Bible is a handbook for you to look at and say, okay,
Yeah.
well, this is how I need to be leading my family,
Mhm.
as opposed to the person that just said, okay, well, you just need to, if she ain't listening, then she tripping. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Like where is that though? You know what I'm saying? That's where you grounded at with that particular piece of information.
Mhm.
So I think that's good that you realize that you have a weight to carry in this particular space, right? And I feel the same way, even
Mhm.
though I'm at this particular level of the game.
Mhm.
That's this. I had the same thought process coming in. I just wanted to do something that could get me out of my mindset of just doing whatever, just have some fun. That's basically what it was for me. And then when I realized, not until I met you guys and I went on when I went to Houston that one time that I met you in person, then I realized that people actually are paying attention to what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, okay, so this is bigger than what I had in my perspective of what it is. And so I want to make sure that, just like you, I want to make sure that the words that I say are words that will be heard and not just winning the argument. Even though I get stuck in trying to win sometimes, though, because
We
I'm,
all
I'm
do. We all do. I feel you 100%, brother.
not you, Trill. I'm not.
Bruh. Still. But it's like what you're saying is powerful. I mean, Tupac said it best. He said, "I may not change the world myself, but I may spark the mind that will." So even in this topic that we're talking about, we may not necessarily see that influence, but we got thousands of people just like you. You done been doing this a while. It's thousands of people that done listen to what you had to say. So
Mm,
you done influence thousands of people. Who knows who out of that bunch may pick up the torch and keep it pushing, or spread that message more often, or apply that message to their lifestyle and improve their quality of life in their
mm,
immediate circle. And I think it could have a spreading effect, but it comes down to, just like we said, us having that responsibility, being cognizant of that responsibility, that what we saying on these microphones matter. It's not just about going viral. It's not just saying something that's going to get shock value and get a lot of views. It's saying something that's going to hit somebody in the chest, hit
yeah,
somebody in the ribs, and make them stop, like, damn, I'm not living right. I'm not moving how I should be doing, or I'm not prioritizing what I should be prioritizing at this stage. Let me make a change. So if we could, get, again, a few people to make a change, then we did our job.
That's good, bro. I appreciate because that's very encouraging for me because I have a partner that said, "Listen, man, if it wasn't for your show, I don't think that I would have been better." And so when you say that, it resonates with me there, and then also making sure that I remember that I'm responsible to my wife and my kids when I come on here and
Right.
how I represent them as well. Right. So I think that's another piece along with what you're saying. That's important. Before we get out of here, what can people find you? I'm gonna ask you a last question before that. What can people find you though, Trill? If they don't know, they bugging.
Nah, D Trill AC, man. That's TheTrillac. That's on Instagram, it's Twitter, it's Facebook. And then I just started a new YouTube channel called Trill Academy. It's basically gonna speak to a new podcast that I have in mind. But yeah, so those are it, man. The Trill AC on all of the socials, and then YouTube. Make sure you tap in the Trill Academy. I'm about to start really blooding the strip with content going forward, because I done kind of took a break from YouTube for probably the past year and a half or something like that. But now I'm about to really rev it back up. So yeah.
That's what's up, man. Looking forward to that. And my question that I have before we get out of here is, if a man is watching this and feels like he's been disrespected in his role or husband, what would you say to him right now?
Two things. I say one, disrespect is not an accident. So if that disrespect is coming from within the household, we got to have a real conversation. Also, disrespect could be perceived as disrespect when in reality, I just hadn't communicated well enough what I need from my woman in terms of the gratitude, in terms of the thanks, in terms of the propping up and things of that nature. A lot of us, we kind of just expect our woman to know. Expect our woman to know what it is that we value or what it is that we like, despite the fact a lot of times our woman ask us, "Hey, do you need anything from me?" And we'll say, "No, I'm good." But we expect her to just do the things that we need. So you got to, for one, give her a chance by communicating, "Hey, this is what I need from you. This is what's going to make me feel more like a man. This is what's going to make me operate at peak efficiency in this role that I have." Now, if she disrespects you on the back end of that, then we got to make a different decision. You understand? Because like I say, disrespect is not an accident, especially when we hadn't communicated what our needs are.
That is so dope, man. Before we get out of here, you want to say anything else, bro?
That's about it, man. Like I said, appreciate the opportunity, bro. It's always, a pleasure chopping it with you, man. It's always grown, progressive, encouraging, inspiring conversation, bro. So, it's always love. I'm here if you need me, in whatever way that is. And likewise, I already know you there for me. You always check up on me, tap in with me, bro. And that right there means a lot. Like you have no idea. For sure.
For sure, man. Well, I appreciate you, man. This has been good and very much not just encouraging, but actually something that I can go back and watch and listen to the nuggets that have been dropped here. And to all those that are out there, make sure you like, share, subscribe to the content. And then to next time, we out here. Deuces.
Sure.
The boy is dangerous.
Bad feeling about this.
You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world.